2019 is a new year. Why not start the year off with some new shoes? If you're going to buy new shoes, why not buy the best shoes? Shoes designed specifically for OCR and designed with the input from one of the best in OCR. That's right, the VJ Extremes. It's the shoe that world champion John Albin helped design. You've heard him here talk about it on this program several times. We've talked about it, and up until now, they weren't even available in the United States. Or you had to do some weird store somewhere in Tennessee. But if you've noticed on social lately, we're breaking the news. They're now available here. The VJ Extremes are here, and guess what else are coming? You're going to be able to buy the IROX, the brand new IROX. Lots of great stuff coming from VJ Shoes. And here's the deal. You know how people go nuts on coupons? Right now, we're the only place with a discount. That's right, $25 off. Go to vjshoesusa.com/ORM. vjshoesusa.com/ORM. I'm going to go ahead and tell you now, the ad is going to change, so I can't even say it here because we don't want this code to get out. Well, we want it to get out, but you know what I'm saying. There's currently an ad special for January, so right now you're going to get them for $45 off and free ground shipping. VJ Shoes have the reputation of the best grip on the planet and designed specifically for OCR fanatics. I started running in mine. I really dig them. I think you are too. Go to vjshoes.com/ORM, figure out the code, get the discount that nobody else has. vjshoesusa.com/ORM.
Yeah! Get up!
Welcome to the Obstacle Racing Media Podcast with Matt B. Davis.
With over 300 episodes since 2012, Matt has produced the most consistent podcast in OCR.
Each episode, Matt speaks with race directors, athletes, and industry insiders to bring you the most in-depth interviews and conversations in the world of obstacle racing,
adventure runs, and ultra marathons. If you have small children nearby, now is the time to put on some headphones
or send them off to watch Phineas and Ferb, as there are occasionally four-letter words,
which are not bleeps. Now, here is your host.
Now here is your goddamn host.
Now here's your host, fucking Matt B. Davis.
Good day, everyone. Welcome back to the Obstacle Racing Media Podcast. I'm your host, Matt B. Davis, on a Monday evening, recording this for your Tuesday morning enjoyment. And I'm drinking coffee this late, which I may regret later. Drinking the delicious Keurig homebrew. Let's read a review on the iTunes. This is from Dark Horse Vic, Jan 17, 219. What is wrong with me? This is why I never record this late. I can't speak the English. It's from Dark Horse _Vic. I used to work terrain race, and yes, they have two trailers. They are called Bimbo and Jimbo. Now, this is Vic answering the question, does terrain have multiple trucks? Which I asked Josh on last weekend's edition of Obstacle Discourse with Davis and Chase. We talked about how successful they may or may not be, and we offhandedly said, yes, they must have two sets of trucks because they have weekends in multiple cities on multiple days. Oh my God, am I going to regret recording this late? So rather than saying, hey, Matt, I listened to last week's episodes and the answer to your question, blah, 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 he just said it like on a reply, on a review, as if it was part of a conversation. So I appreciate it. You answered my question and you still left me 5 stars. So it all counts. So thank you, Dark Horse Vic. I think this is Victor Q, terrain race champion, dare I say. Won a shitload of terrain races. If it is, drop me a note, say hello. If it's not, drop me a note and say hello. If you want to remain anonymous, that is fine too. Short answer, long. Thank you for answering that question and dropping a review. If you want to leave a review on iTunes for me, it would mean a lot. Here comes somebody. Who's coming in? Jackson, you want to say hi in the microphone? You have to say hi in the microphone. They can't tell you're not wearing a shirt. You don't need to cover up.
Okay.
He just got out of the shower. He's not wearing a shirt. Okay, talk to the people.
Good day, everyone.
Now, like all children Jackson's age, he's not dried off. He's completely soaked. He's dressed, but still soaking wet. He came in here because he wants my phone, right? All right, why don't you say quickly what obstacle race you're looking forward to doing this year, and then I'll let you go.
Savage or Spartan?
Okay, we will see you there. Should people say hi to you if they see you at the race?
Yes.
All right, say hey to Jackson Davis. You like that voice? Annoying radio guy voice? Jackson Davis of the Spartan Race, everybody. You like that? Can you do that voice?
No.
Okay, finish the sentence. Come on over here. I'm just going to do one thing really quickly. Get ready. Stay close to the microphone. Okay, ready? First to the key.
First on.
If you get that reference, drop me a line. Jackson, don't tell him. Drop me a note. No, don't tell him. No, drop me a note, and maybe they'll win a prize. He needs my fingerprint to open it. When I'm dead asleep at night, he'll walk over and put my finger on it like I'm a dead person. He just wiped it off, ladies and gentlemen. I gave him a kiss, and he wiped it off. See you later, dude. All right, where were we? Thanks, Dark Horse Vic. Let's read this week's Patreon. The members of the Patreon. They get membered every day. They get thanked every week. You know what, guys? I'm doing it. I'm going through with it. My cylinders aren't firing. I'm digging deep. I'm drinking the coffee. I'm going to make this happen. Happy MLK Day, by the way. It's just MLK Day. There are now 42 Patreons. Once upon a time, there was 9. I feel phenomenal about this. Thank you so much, Patreon members. The folks that get the weekly shout-out: Sean, Rombo, Sophia Harnedy, Steve Rye, Scott Sebastian, Patrick Brown, the Double Erics, Wilkin and Marin, David Cantu, he's a new one, Dave Claxton, he's a new one, Christian Michael, Charlotte Engelman, Brad Heilwagen, Bethany Shimmer, and good old Will Hicks. Those of you get a shout-out each and every week. I want to go ahead and take this time to thank all of the Patreon members. You are awesome. Come join this club. Do you like listening to what I do every week? Do you enjoy this podcast? Do you enjoy when we do the weekly Davis and Chase funsy stuffs? Do you like the videos that we provide? Do you like the content that ORM produces? Well, advertising pays for some of that, and the rest comes from you, the listener, the viewer. Now, we will always, always, always give you all this great stuff for free, and this is a way for you to help the OCR community by helping me continue to put forward great content, and I've got some really cool stuff coming. I'm not going to say much about it because we all hate coming soon, other than it's video related, and it's going to take me all season to make it. How about that? That's pretty exciting. Anyhow, thank you, Patreon members. Back in November, on today's program, Anders Varner Part 2. Back in November, I had Anders on the phone after learning about him in Tahoe and listening to some episodes on Barbell Shrugged. If you are familiar with our podcast, go listen to it. If you're not, go listen to it. He gave me some sound advice, which I am already implementing, including you hearing the show every Tuesday and Davis and Chase every Thursday, as opposed to, well, whenever the hell I get to it. Much of this show is about that, is about kind of how I take on creating content. Basically, this is an episode where I learn how to try to get better for you, right? I want to get better for me, obviously, but at the end of the day, I want to produce quality stuff, and I wanted to learn to get better at that, and you receive the benefits of that. So if you're a business owner or any kind of entrepreneur or content creator, you'll benefit from listening to this, and you'll like it just because you like to fill your ears with me and whoever I'm talking to on a week-to-week basis. There you go. That's it. Anders Varner and I, a nice, lengthy chat, Part 2. By the way, you don't have to have listened to Part 1. Part 1 was good, and we learned more about his past, but it's not a must. It's not like Star Wars, and you won't know what's going on in the next one. Although, I think Star Wars are pretty individualized at this point anyway. Anyhow, let's take it away. Anders and I, away we go. I agree. I'm way more on IG these days, but here's an interesting thing that, we were talking about Armin yesterday. The CrossFit audience is of a certain age, and they're probably on YouTube and Instagram. And I can't get YouTube traction to save my fucking life.
Well, yeah, YouTube's really hard because I think that people are putting out really highly produced content. And in order to get a YouTube following, you better be doing real character development on yourself and pretty good production value and pretty good editing value, and you should have 100 videos. You have to really put in the time. It's like a 2-year process of gaining a following, learning your own story. Why are you putting a YouTube video together? It's a full business marketing plan.
But that's the thing, is that we had race videos before anybody was doing good race videos.
Yep.
Everybody was going out on the course with a shaky GoPro. They would blast horrible music.
Are we recording right now?
Yes.
Oh, cool. Awesome. I love that.
Did we learn this
Fucking rolling
yesterday?
start.
Did we learn
Well, I
nothing?
didn't know if we were starting with the Facebook today.
That's where we're
The
starting
2-day
today.
chat. I love it. Go ahead. Keep going.
Maybe it'll go 3 days.
Why not?
I really wish I talked to you though in Tahoe because live is so much better.
Yeah, it's all right. We have next year.
Next year I'll see you in Tahoe. We were putting out good videos back when everyone was putting out shitty videos.
Yeah.
And it was starting to kind of work, but then if you recall, the numbers jumped so much on Facebook. Like you could get so many more shares and comments that we went all in on that. And I was an idiot because the right move would have been to just post on both because it only takes an extra 2 minutes to post on both.
Yeah.
So by the time the monetization thing got reconnoitered, I don't even fucking qualify. I've got well over 100, like tons of videos, but not enough viewable minutes or whatever it is. So now I'm like kind of starting from scratch. And yeah, like I'm the kind of guy that like does it quick and dirty and it's pretty good. Like you can make a really good podcast with very average tools. But I know that I'm a lot better than people who have really expensive microphones, but their content sucks. But what you're saying with video is it doesn't really cut it anymore. You really got to bring it.
Well, I mean, like, dude, it's like everything. If you're so niched down that you're talking specifically to an OCR person that is doing their very first race, like this is kind of like what I talk to CrossFit coaches about. I'm like, there's a jillion CrossFit coaches. There's a jillion OCR people. But like, what is really separating you and getting your clients? Like you can be a CrossFit coach that only coaches people in their very first CrossFit competition. Or maybe you're the coach that only wants to work with people in their first 6 months of learning CrossFit. And you have a really specific skill set to helping people get over the fear of doing their first thing or whatever it is. Like the quality matters clearly, but you don't have to have like HBO level production. You have to tell really good stories and be so specific of who you're talking to and then find those people. So like, yes, it helps if you have a great product. So at Shrugged, we have 184 plus thousand subscribers on YouTube. And we were the only people that ever did video interviews. Well, we were the only people that were able to have a full-time cameraman following us around everywhere we went. So yeah, that's a huge advantage. That gets us to 184,000 people. But now you can go buy a Mevo, post it up right in front of people. The camera automatically changes angles based on who's talking. It's in like whatever the nicest video quality is. It's a little choppy because the delay is like a quarter of a second before it recognizes who's talking and the transitions and the zooms. But like video's super easy to record an interview and really good quality. So it doesn't make anybody special anymore to create these things unless like, like Lewis Howes does it, Rogan does it. But like even look at like Rogan's content on YouTube. It's the full interview. And then all of that stuff is broken down into these like 10 to 20 minute, like super tight. Joe Rogan talks about fitness. Joe Rogan talks about overcoming obstacles. Joe Rogan talks about being the hero of your own journey. Like Joe Rogan like those things are the things that drive his YouTube show and the following. Like the number of people that are listening to his show on podcast is, I want to say he's doing like 90 to 100 million a month. Like it's an absurd number. And then you look at his YouTube and it's like 275,000, which is an absurd number. Like that's a ton of people. But in comparison, when you're getting, he's putting out what, 3-4 shows a week times 4 weeks, 12 into 100. Like he's getting 5 million downloads a show or something just asinine, right? And so his video production isn't like the greatest. It's not what he's like there. Like that's not his main thing. But I don't know if you're gonna do it. Like those little snippets are really, really good for driving traffic for him. And the long form. Who's got 3 hours to watch TV?
Some people. Well, they listen to the 3 hour. But here's the thing.
Yeah,
like,
I listen to it. All
like the formula, which like it's no secret, but that I sort of recently decided, okay, this is what I'm going to try to do, because I started using this thing called Be Live, which is great. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Just throws up your logo. Boom, you're in a real conversation. I'm not big on live with that stuff, only because I'm not the kind of person, like, if I don't have an extra person to take the questions, it's just distracting to me.
Yeah.
But I love the format of it shows their name, and then I can rip that and use it as a podcast, right? And I can rip it and make it a YouTube. But again, even taking the time when I'm done, even though it's not that lengthy of a process, you still have to do it. Because I had this idea that's like, oh, my production is going to go through the roof. If I'm doing 3 or 4 interviews a week over the phone or like this, then I'm doing the Be Lives. That's more content. Chop it up. Find a good minute, like 30-second piece for an Instagram story. I don't have the fucking time to do that shit, dude. I really wish I did.
Look, all the things you just said can be done by a virtual assistant for $5 an hour.
What have you used? I was using.
I don't like any of it. I find that I spend more time trying to coach the virtual assistant than I do on actually, like, I just do it myself. But the point, really, the higher level point is that it's so simple. Like, everyone can do it. So it's not really about, yes, you need video production quality to be good at YouTube, but what you really need is like a tighter story and a tighter audience and more specific things that hit that audience right where they're interested. Like that, I think the messaging is like more important than, like, the video production is really makes viewing it and listening to it much better, right? So like, you do your show in person, you've got your headset on, everything's nice and tight, the audio's crystal clear. That's way easier to listen to. But if you provided such a specific conversation for a certain group of 1,000 people that it didn't matter if you had a 10 on video or audio quality, they would still tune in. So that's really the goal. The goal, like, Rogan he was like the first one. And that guy is so professional. Like, he loves acting like he's fight guy, stand-up comedian, like meathead. No, he might be the smartest person in our country. He has a more elevated conversation with more smart people and has developed the skill to get outside of his own box and learn so well. And he started doing it when he was 45 years old, 44, 43 years old. Like, he had already had so many life experiences, and he had already been in the fight game and like done stand-up comedy, which is probably the hardest like profession you can do. Here's a microphone, go make these people laugh for an hour. Right? That's so hard.
Yeah,
like,
that's my background. That's what I did for 10 years.
When I was growing up, that was like the thing that I wanted to do in my life. And I think it's the hardest job you can possibly have.
Yeah, it's very life preparing. It's very like you can apply
shit kicked in every single time
right.
for 3 years. And then even when you're really good at it, you still get your shit kicked in.
Yeah, a lot.
I did 3 minutes one night at an open mic, and it was terrifying. Like, I didn't know. I used to sit up at night and like write comedy. Like, I used to like write jokes. Like, when your brain like spends at night, I don't do this anymore. But like, when I was, I don't know, I remember being, when I was like 4, 5, 6 years old, people would ask me what I wanted to be, and I just tell them stand-up comedian. And they'd be like, what? Like, you don't have to go to school for that. And I'd be like, I don't have to go to school. That's so awesome. I can just go be funny and make people laugh. Like, how crazy is that?
Are you typing on your keyboard, by the way? I keep hearing something.
No, I'm not.
What are you tapping on?
Maybe, hold on, let me take this off.
Yeah, there's a lot of going on there.
Maybe it's just my microphone.
What comedians did you like as a kid?
I really liked Sinbad. Sinbad was really funny. I remember a bit he did on skiing that was just hysterical. I would just die. the first time I found Rogan, like his first special that was on Netflix, I want to say, dude, like changed the way that I like view, like I started at that moment, like holy shit, you can objectively view human nature. This is fucking crazy. Like, but I've always, I think, had that like that weird like questioning, why are we doing all this stuff, which I think is like at the heart of stand-up comedy, like just stepping back and being like, people, you think this is normal? Like, we're all just animals. Like, one of my like favorite things to do is like go into Costco and just take a second and like imagine if like lions went to Costco. Like, what would they do? Like, their life is all about survival and eating like they have to go hunt, and then we have to go hunt, and then we go into Costco, and there's just resources everywhere. Imagine if there was only one thing in Costco. Like, there would be a fucking war. Like, there would be, but no, we have so many resources that everybody just pushes their cart. Doesn't even matter. Like, humans are so strange. Like, it's so strange to me. Like, and then I like heard him do like all the, like, so the very first time, and all these things have to be like, they're like skills that you have to like hone, right? Like, I used to like blurt out ridiculous shit in school and get in trouble. And like, I went to a school where we had to take a religion class, like it was mandatory. And I was just not a good person to have in a religion class, because I would just sit there and be like, what, please explain this. This is ridiculous. Like, you think there's a dude up there that's controlling all this? You think he really had like an opinion about where I went to high school and what sports I played and how good I was going to be at it? Like, that shit doesn't make any sense. And you're in here trying to tell all these kids that this is real. And I got to read a prayer for Owen Meany. Like, no. But
who's Owen Meany? Who's Owen Meany?
It's like this book that's like written out of the First Testament. And
and I know we were talking about your story a little bit yesterday, but what sports did you play growing up? What did you play?
I played ice hockey. That was like the big thing that I chased after. I have a weird life, I guess. I don't know. I left home when I was 14 and went to go play hockey.
Where?
In Massachusetts. So I'm from Virginia Beach, and I more or less, like, I was a really big fish in a really small pond. And when I was 13, there was this, I don't even know if it still exists, but there was a hockey tournament, like a national hockey tournament called Hockey Night in Boston. And I was chosen to play on like the mid-Atlantic. So basically like warm states. And warm states don't do well against cold states when it comes to cold sports. And I realized very quickly, like, oh, if you want to be good at this, like, living in Virginia Beach,
it's not going to cut it, right?
Not going to do the thing you need. So I was going to move to Minnesota and live with my aunt. And then I learned about this thing called prep school. And yeah, it was really cool. It was really, really cool. It was way, way harder than all things like college, grad school. The schooling was really, really challenging. And it was awesome. I played hockey for 4 years. It was great.
How many times have you seen the movie Slapshot?
Enough.
Totally. How many times have you seen the movie Miracle?
Once or twice, because the HBO documentary is so much better. I will still watch the HBO documentary all the time.
How about the HBO documentary or the 30 for 30 about the Russian side? How dope was that?
I've watched that one countless times. I actually train now very similar to the way that they train, because it's so interesting to me, like incorporating like dancing with barbells on your back and like running with stair, like all that stuff is very, very, very applicable to life and like real training.
Speaking of 30 for 30, are you big enough that you could get Bill Simmons on your show?
It would be tough, but we could possibly get there.
Dude,
I don't know if those people have time.
Well, I think a guy like him, I mean, I started listening to him a lot lately. I've always known kind of who he was,
Yeah.
But he has a podcast now called The Rewatchables.
Okay.
They pick a movie, classic movie, Shawshank Redemption, Jaws, even something like Face Off, right? Just any movie you've seen like 100 times, and they go into it, and him and a guy or three guys just go into it. And, I've listened to, there's another one of those networks, and I can't think of the fucking name of it. But basically, when I listen to them do those recaps, it sounds like a bunch of kind of like millennial know-it-alls, and like even though I like what they're talking about, I don't really relate. And even though him and his guys know their shit, they're kind of like Rogan. They know their shit so well, but it feels like me and you talking.
Totally.
And they'll be like, if they talk about how something was shot or how it relates to something, or they make a crazy sports analogy to it, I'm in love with it. Basically, like if he said to me like who I wanted to be, it's that guy. Because he creates a network, right? And it's sports, it's politics, it's whatever he wants to do. And I mean, isn't that kind of what you have now that I think about it? Don't you kind of like sort of have that?
Going. It's where we're going.
So, and I know we're all over the place, but can we maybe sort of get to that part? Because I started saying yesterday, and you said, "Oh, I walked into the Barbell thing; it was already happening."
Yeah,
but it's not even called Shrugged anymore; it's the Collective now, right?
Yeah.
So how many shows are on your network?
So right now we are 4 consistent shows and then a seasonal show.
Okay, and why? You do one feed or multiple feeds or both?
We do one feed, so it's a daily.
So let's talk about that. Why would one, to me, sort of confuse the audience with this is Barbell Shrugged 205, but then it's whatever the other one is 79, right?
Yeah,
with Drew Bledsoe or whatever.
Well, in all honesty, we didn't really know. I kind of like the idea of like being at the top of everyone's feed every morning and having them have to make a choice if they're going to listen or not. So that becomes my thing of like every morning on your way to work, you hit podcast because you like listening to podcasts, and I'm at the top of your feed.
Because it says today, right?
Today on the Shrugged Collective is Ryan Fisher, is Mike Bledsoe, is Anders Varner, is the Feed Me Fuel Me guys. Dude, I don't think anything we're doing today will actually make any sense to anyone and where we're going until 2020. Like it just but then is the goal to be like, a Corolla or a Gimlet or somebody, and you're always plugging each other, and people know that means something if you're on, a certain network. So is that the goal? Totally. You're just not ready to make that shift yet because you want to have more shows? I don't think we're ready to make that. Like you're talking about like separate channels, right? Well,
Correct.
This currently is just a fitness channel. So here's all the fitness people that we like. So,
yeah, but even Bill Simmons has like multiple short sports shows, but they're in different, like there's an NBA one, there's sort of an overall weekly one. He also has a politics one, but they're not all in the same feed. They're very different. Yeah. Each one has a show name, just like TV in the old days had show. TV in the old days, television shows have names. That's the way I kind of, what I mean?
I don't really have like a great answer. This is kind of the way that we like envisioned it and went after it. The other thing is like those people still have the opportunity to go and post on their channel. Like we don't own all of their content. We only own that one day of what they're putting out. So we could have done it, but I think like Feed Me Fuel Me, those guys want to start putting out 2 shows a week, but we don't want 2 shows a week. So they're going to post on their channel as well as ours.
So who gets the advertising pie?
On their channel, they have to go negotiate all their deals and go do all their stuff, but their following's a lot smaller. And then we have it on ours, then we split everything.
So I didn't know that. I thought you got everybody's every episode. They just say
so they can do whatever they want, like on their own. We just want 1 show a week, and I guess my job really is making sure that 1 show a week is really good. Nobody currently is posting on their own channels.
So you listen to the episode before you post it?
I listen that day. The day it comes out, I listen to all of them. I've listened to every single show we put out, and I watch all the YouTube videos.
Before it goes live?
No, because I have to listen to it on like 1.5, 2 speed.
No,
like
me,
I can't.
me too.
Yeah.
I'm 1.5 all day, dude.
But I don't.
You only sound slightly different at regular speed, by the way.
Nice.
It's not much of an adjustment. It's not much of an adjustment.
Yeah, that is. So I don't listen to. Even if they posted a show for me to listen to on a Tuesday and it was airing on a Thursday, I wouldn't pull it if it wasn't great. Like I'm not that micromanaging every single show. But I do get a very good vibe of the interviews and where things need to be better. And that's very real. Like that's stuff that I have to deal with, I guess.
Let me ask you, I think, because I've heard your show, and I couldn't tell you who the other guy is or if it's been multiple other guys.
Yeah.
Like when you sat down with Hunter, who was the other guy?
Yeah. That's Doug Larson.
And is he usually the guy you're with?
He's the consistent one. And then we try to, depending upon, so we have such a cool network, right? So like if I'm interviewing somebody that has like a really deep science background, I try and call Andy Galpin to have him be on that show because look, I'm good at conversations. Like I'm really good at talking to people and like reading them and like finding out like that thing that they're like one of the things, and we can talk about the future of podcasting too, but one of the things that I really struggle with this medium is that if like you're good at it, because if you weren't good at it, I would be dominating your show. You wouldn't talk, or I would just chuck up my 1 hour like sales pitch for my programs, and then it would be a boring show. You just listen to me pitch programs for an hour, but you are good at this. You know how to talk to people. So it's a conversation, right? You're interviewing me, but it feels like a conversation. If the people that are really bad at this job, which make it tough for all of the people, is they're like, you have Hunter McIntyre on and you're like, tell me about being cool at OCR. And then he just talks for an hour and they don't really have any depth to the conversation. So in my world, the perfect interview is me. I'm the fun conversationalist guy. Like I build rapport, I build trust, I make fun. I throw one-liners in to bring the audience and keep everyone engaged. Doug is really, really technically smart about training. I'm the guy that just, I'm not the guy that you want to hire to be your like programmer for fitness. I'm the guy that you want to hire to be your personal trainer because I'm fun to hang out with. And I know you're going to show up to the gym because you want to hang out with me. And Doug is going to make sure that the actual workouts are going to get you where you're supposed to go. Like I'm not a technical person. So if we have a very technical sciencey person on the show, Doug runs a lot of that conversation. And then if I can bring Andy Galpin into the show, he's a freaking doctor of something, like something crazy, sports performance craziness. So like he's the guy that I want. But if it's a more of like a fun character person, I run that show. And then the third person that I want co-hosting is somebody that's more like me, like a Kenny Kane, just somebody that brings more personality and like behavioral health type things to the show.
Right. Yeah. See, I once in a while I want to get super nerdy, and so I'll bring someone on, or I want to call someone out on their bullshit. So
yeah,
it's again one of the things that I sort of got known for is I had the oral IV guy on and I had the training mask guy on, and I brought my buddy Josh on and he just fucking like lit him up, but without even trying. You know what I mean? They're so full of shit. They didn't have to try that hard. But
yeah,
but like, listen, you know some science, and then it also sort of makes me the indirect object, right? Like you're going to ask them these questions, and I'll give them a chance. Like I try not to make it 2-on-1. I try to make it, but for me, otherwise, I'm not really that interested. Like if you notice the episodes of yours I've listened to are totally entertainment value, right?
Totally.
Hunter, Armin, I wanted to hear what the drug test girl had to say. I don't want to know about VO2
So
max, and it's not my jam at all.
So that's exactly where the show can be skewed towards more fun, or it can be skewed towards, like, I love educational shows. The thing is I'm only going to get you to like level 2 or level 3. And then we start getting into the rabbit hole. So my job is to get that person, like your job as an interviewer is to take your audience from this person started here and is now the best in the world at what they do. And I have to push that conversation to show you how smart they are or why they're the best at what they do. And in order to do that, many, many times it has to go into this really deep place, like micronutrients. I don't know. I don't know how much vitamin D I need. I don't know how much vitamin C I need. I don't know what happens if I overdose on vitamin C. But there's a lot of people that do, and a lot of people are very interested in it, and it creates a very good conversation. So the goal for me is to set that conversation up, build rapport, build trust, hand it off to Doug, and then I just tell one-liners to keep the audience engaged. Like that's kind of the way those shows roll, and they're awesome. But if we have somebody that's like a much less technical, more behavioral health, more like big picture person, well, let's set up shop. I'll talk to you forever. We can talk about being good at what you do, why you do it, all those fun things.
So when you talk about it won't be ready till 2020, is that because you have some master plan that you don't want to say yet, or you'll have it figured out by 2020?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've never done anything in my life that takes less than 2 years to be good at. So what I'm doing right now is building this idea of a network, and in that network right now is very fitness focused because that's where we're at. I can tell you the things that I really want to work on. I really want to start building female voices. And that's my next thing that I want to get into. So I've got 2 female co-hosts coming on to talk to me. I've got 2 seasonal shows starting next year, 8 weeks. One on resilience, mental, physical resilience, just kind of like people that have been through some real shit in their lives. One on body awareness body image going into the summer. And then really dude, we have to have better female voices, stronger, powerful female voices on the network. And right now it's a bunch of dudes talking about fitness. So that's really my big focus. So I have to make it more well-rounded. And then once that starts to kick in and we start to even our audience out a little bit, then I want to start moving into other things that I'm interested in and building it that way. But it takes, when we went from 1 show a week to releasing 6 a week, like 2 Shrugs, Bledsoe, Real Chalk, and Feed Me, Fuel Me, the audience was like, fuck you guys. Like, I don't want 6 days in a row of this. But they don't really know what they want until you do it. And then it's really good. And then they come in. So like you do 1 million downloads a month and you're like, people like it. Like
who gets the best though out of those? What are the highest numbers?
That's a floating scale. Probably for the last, so Bledsoe being the CEO and kind of the guy that like founded all of this and was like the big voice of Barbell Shrugged before I came on. His show did very, very well and still does do very well. But Shrugs pulled ahead a little bit, which is really cool. I'm very like proud of that. I kind of judge all this stuff on like, where do we 24 hours after we pop up, after we post, where do we land on iTunes top 200? And the goal is to be in the top 5 every single show we put up.
And where are you now?
Well, today's show, I don't know until tomorrow, but the last 3 that I've posted at like 8, 4, and 6. Fisher's show has been in the top 10 for the last like 3 weeks.
In fitness
and health. Yeah.
So who else is up there? Fucking Rich Roll.
Rich Roll crushes. Ben Greenfield. Mind Pump does a really good job. I really like those guys a lot. I look up to a lot of the things that they do, which is funny because they looked up to a lot of the things that Barbell Shrugged was doing when they were starting their stuff. But they were one of the impetuses to us going 6 days a week, right? Like they put out 5 shows a week. It's all them. So we kind of took that model of the volume game, but bringing extra voices in and collaborating.
So let's talk. This is like become half coaching advice for Matt, which I'm fine with. And my audience I know is too, because like they're probably cool with it. But so I've been no matter what, you're going to get 1 a week game for 6 years, which I know. Like I watch my competition, and I, have some Schadenfreude and secretly happy when they start to die, right?
Yeah.
So Hunter and Ben came in, right? And I was immediately worried because I know that Ben was already this huge name in podcasting. But then sure enough, by the second year, they slowed way the fuck down. By the third year, it was almost non-existent. And now Hunter's taken it sort of back over. But anyway, the point is, I've never been any one day. Like it's been, say, Mondays for 6 months, and then it's Thursdays for 6 months, and then it just jumps all over, and it's like, hey guys, and the 3 or 4 times I've missed a week in 6 years, I give you 2 the next week. That's been my commitment to the audience.
Yeah.
And in something like now, we just had World's Toughest Mudder. There's easily 3 episodes full of interviews from that event, so I'll give you a bunch of that. People love that. They eat it up. It's this huge event, blah, blah. Anyway, if I wanted to, I could put out way more. I let my schedule be that it's only 1 a week so that I still have to do my own sales, and I've got some other stuff I'm working on. Do you think that's possibly a way to jump it? Is like, you know what, guys, fuck it. Here's 2 a week no matter what every time.
I mean, it's going to double what you do. Like, look, podcasting is AM radio. Like, Howard Stern does 4 hours a day. That's 20 hours a week. And you think 1 hour a show, which you're probably putting out most of the time, is a big deal?
But he doesn't have to produce it himself.
Well, yeah, but he also has to go live. You just record it and then ship it off to somebody or do whatever you do. Like the production value 6 years later but the production cycle can't be that large.
No, it's not, but it's just me. Like I know I could, but I don't edit out much anyway, and the sound is fine. Like I'll spot check to see, and then there's once in a while something will slip through. And honestly, I have a crew of people that I can count on that I will hear from the same 3 people right away. Dude, you left in this thing where it sounded like, a plane crashed. You should probably fix that. Oh, fuck, I'll fix it. And on we go.
So, that's always my go-to answer, right? We're going to get into my business life here in a second. And like you say, it sounds like real business coaching, but I actually do that. But here's the thing. People on radio have been doing this shit for 4 hours a day, every single morning from 6 to 10 a.m. on drive time, their entire lives. Podcasting is no different. When I meet our audience at events, you go, oh, where do you listen to it? And they're like, on my way to work. That's the standard one. And then how about when you meet a family and they go, oh, well, when we're on long road trips with the family, they have Barbell Shrugged playing. And I'm like, you listen to me on road trips with your family? I always have these ear pods in or earbuds, and I'm listening to people's shows, and I'm just my whole life, I just want to be in conversation with people, right? I love learning about people and all this stuff, but if I could go daily, I would go daily. If I could go 4 hours a day, I would go 4 hours a day. You're so good at communicating with people, and that's massively important, right? I want to go 4 hours a day. I want to write an email, and I want to write something that matters to me. I want to write blog posts. All of these things are just practicing my ability to communicate and express my language and message to people, right? And when I sit down and talk to people okay, well, where should I go with my business? I don't know. What should I do for fitness? I don't know. You have to figure out what you want to do with the show. And if you want to go daily, well, you have a network that you can start to hammer and do daily shows. Like me, I want to have 3 hour long shows. I don't think I'm good enough to do 3 hours right now, though. I can do 2 really well, but I'm not. That third hour really starts to weigh on me. But I also hate 1 hour shows. And I hate 1 hour shows because I know that I'm not getting the thing I want.
All right, let's talk about this, okay? So I wanted to back up a little bit and talk about the 1,000 true fans thing.
Yeah.
And I used to say, you don't need 1 million downloads. You need 1,000 true fans. I think I have 13. Now I would say you don't need 1 million. You need 1,000. I have 79 or 94 because you meet these people and isn't it all, I mean, you're 10x me or whatever you are compared to me, but isn't it always a pleasant surprise almost every time when someone looks
when you meet somebody?
Yes. When you look someone in the eyes and
I don't even need to meet them. When they write me a message on Instagram when they direct message me on Instagram, like this morning, I did a show that posted on like Monday, and someone literally wrote me this morning and it said, "You're a great conversationalist. Do you practice talking to people, or is this something that you've just had your whole life?" And I literally was just like, holy shit. Like, I practice it all the time. The thing that you are listening to every Wednesday is the test. Like, I try to have a great 8-second conversation with my barista. I try and have a awesome 3-minute conversation with everyone I meet.
Well, you're on a different level then, because I'm fucking winging it since day one, and it's gotten me X far. But I want to be where you are, so I know something has to change. I can't just keep winging it.
Dude, every opportunity that you're around a human being is like, it's just the coolest way to make someone's day. Like, just asking your barista how they're doing it.
I do that stuff. Listen, dude, I have a whole.
But how do you do it? Can you do it better?
I don't know, because I've just been winging it. So I go through.
Thing. I go objectively view the way that you talk to your barista,
dude. If you followed me on Instagram, I only just started adding it to the permanent stories, and I wish I had, because it's been going on for 2 years. I go through my Dunkin' Donuts drive-through, and these ladies love me, and I love them, and they know my kids, and I've been putting that on my IG stories. But it's because I just think of whatever goofy thing to say at the time. It's not me consciously trying to be a better interviewer.
Yeah. No, well, see, that's the thing though. All of it matters. Everything matters, right? You're practicing that thing. And that thing is making your barista feel amazing when she's in your presence. When you show up to the window and she looks outside and you're there, she's like, dope, cool.
Right.
Like, that's like, so there's a lot of ways to ask your barista how they're doing. You can do it with your head down. You can be like, hey, how you doing? Great. I'm just another person here. Or you can actually like look them in the eye and make them feel really important. So when I owned the gym, my gym was like shared a wall with a coffee shop. And we talked about it earlier. My goal was to be like the most popular, well-known trainer in my place, the place I live in, Pacific Beach. And in order to do that, I had to be able to walk into the grocery store and know people and talk to them and make them feel amazing. So the coffee shop is also a meeting place. So I can't just walk into the coffee shop, right, and go get my coffee and then leave, because I know 5 people in there. But I also can't sit down at the table and have an hour-long conversation with them. So I've got about 3 minutes, right? Maybe 2 to 3 minutes with each person. So I've got 3 minutes to maximize the conversation. I've got 3-4 things that I know about every single person that I know in there. And I want that person to feel amazing about their interaction with me. And it's not slimy. Like, I genuinely want that person to love me. Like, I want them to see me and just be like, fuck, this is going to be radical. I'm going to laugh. He knows something about me. Like, we have a real relationship. And I used to talk about it with my coaches all the time at the gym. Like, we are in the business of 3-minute conversations. When someone walks in the door of the gym, the way that we talk to them and the way that we greet them matters, because they've been in a cage all day long. This is the first time that somebody has given them the opportunity to be special. So when they walk in the door, I want you yelling their name as loud as you can over
Bobby!
Yeah. I want it to feel special, and I don't want it to feel fake. I want you to genuinely be interested in that person walking in the door. And then when you have a free moment to go over, I want your high five to them to matter. I don't want it to be this half-assed handshake. What up? No, I want it to be like a really high five. Like, make them jump. Like, do something that like makes them know that they're alive and that they're there. And then the conversation that we have, like, how do we prepare them to get ready to work out? What's the conversation that we have? It matters. Your tone of voice matters. You have to practice the way that your voice comes out. It's not just the words. Like, everything matters in the way that you converse with people and the way that you're able to affect their decisions, and the quality of life that they have matters. If I walk in to an established, like, I don't even know where, but if you walk into a gym and nobody talks to you, it's kind of like, the coach doesn't really give a shit, you're not going to want to be there. It's just a boring ass place to be where you have to go lift weights. That's a $30 product over at 24 Hour Fitness. You want to pay $180 a month to go to my gym, you're going to feel amazing from the moment you walk in to the moment you leave. And we have a system, and it better be real and it better be tight. And it's going to feel great when you walk in.
Let's take a pause in this amazing chat with Anders to hear a word from our sponsor. 2019 is a new year. Why not start the year off with some new shoes? If you're going to buy new shoes, why not buy the best shoes? Shoes designed specifically for OCR and designed with the input from one of the best in OCR. That's right, the VJ Extremes. It's the shoe that world champion John Alden helped design. You've heard him here talk about it on this program several times. We've talked about it, and up until now, they weren't even available in the United States, or you had to do some weird store somewhere in Tennessee. But if you've noticed on social lately, we're breaking the news. They're now available here. The VJ Extremes are here, and guess what else are coming? You're going to be able to buy the IROX, the brand new IROX. Lots of great stuff coming from VJ Shoes. And here's the deal. You know how people go nuts on coupons? Right now, we're the only place with a discount. That's right, $25 off. Go to vjshoesusa.com/ORM. vjshoesusa.com/ORM. I'm going to go ahead and tell you now, the ad is going to change, so I can't even say it here because we don't want this code to get out. Well, we want it to get out, but you know what I'm saying. There's currently an ad special for January, so right now you're going to get them for $45 off and free ground shipping. VJ Shoes have the reputation of the best grip on the planet and designed specifically for OCR fanatics. I started running in mine. I really dig them. I think you are too. Go to vjshoes.com/ORM, figure out the code, get the discount that nobody else has. vjshoesusa.com/ORM. I'm really taking this all in, dude.
I love it. Conversing with people is the greatest. And
I know, dude, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. This is the part that I've got my own whatever about, is that it's taken me this long for me to even acknowledge it as like this viable skill, because to me it's always been like just talking.
Yeah,
right?
Everything's a skill. And
but that's what I'm saying, is that I'm only just now starting to see that, where if I saw someone that, can fix every car engine or can write code, right? And like my skill is, this is it. We're looking at it, right? And I've figured out a way to monetize it for the last, if I really think about it, essentially pulling it out of, right, since day one, starting a business where you get advertising. People ask me that all the time. They're like, how do you make money again? I'm like, yeah. So anyway, I've never thought of it as, well, how can I get better at it? How can I get better at talking to people every day?
So look, all of this stuff. So at the baseline of this, and this is like literally like, this is my, just warning your audience, this is the part that I'm really good at talking to people about business at. So your attention matters, right? Where you spend your time thinking is very, very important. And if you're wanting to get better at talking to people, you should think about the way that you talk to people. You should think about the skill of communication. If you want to grow your business, you should think and put your attention towards the things of where you want your business to go, right? And then not just objectively viewing where your attention is, but how do you feel about that? So the attention is what you're thinking about, what you're doing. Are you reading books? Are you watching TV at night? Are you playing fantasy football on the weekends? Like, when I hear people that play fantasy football, I just like lose my mind. I'm like, why are you wasting an entire day of your life? Like, I know it's built into your social circle, but it's a waste. Like, what are you doing? And it doesn't even make you feel good. Like, you leave and you lose. You lose all the time. One person wins. You're worried about some dude that's making jillions of dollars on the TV running a football an extra 10 yards so you can get 5 more points. So stupid, especially if you're trying to be good at something, right? Nobody wants to be good at fantasy football. You're just doing it because all your friends are doing it. If you want to be good at something, you don't play fantasy football. It's just, you can't. You can't be watching TV all Sunday. Doesn't make you feel good either, right? So what you pay attention to matters. And then how do you feel about that, which is your intention along with that, also matters. So if you start studying conversation, right? What's the best way that we can start changing the way that we pay attention to our skills and our life and where our business is going, right? Well, we probably need a better vocabulary. What's a good place to learn about vocabulary? Reading books. Stop listening to things. Listening to things makes you better at talking, but reading makes you have a better vocabulary. It makes you create better sentences. You learn sentence structure. You learn about keeping things tight and not rambling. It's really important to read. Then write. You want to see how much you ramble? Go ahead and write a paragraph. It's a disaster. Nobody knows how to write.
Yeah, I'm the king of fucking run-ons, bro. It takes me a long time to go back and go back.
Right? And so you hone that skill. And now all of a sudden conversation becomes really easy because I'm reading really high quality writing. I'm writing and constantly editing the way my brain thinks. And I'm also having really long form conversations that I want to keep very tight. So there's 3 things right there. Very simple, right? Where's your attention? Well, it should be on reading, writing, and talking. And that's how you're going to make a better podcast. You're constantly in communication. You're in communication with yourself. You're in communication with people that you don't know through reading that are already playing at a very elevated level. And you're in conversation with your guests. So you're hitting all of the angles, and that's just where your attention's at. When you're not talking to people, write a daily email to your list. Watch how much easier that process gets. Watch how much tighter your language gets. When you have some downtime, read for 20 minutes a day. And now all of a sudden, you don't have to think about like, oh, there's the noun, there's the verb. No, it washes into your brain. Your brain gets comfortable seeing quality words on paper with good sentences.
Have you ever read a past blog or email and thought, I wrote that? Because it's
all
really
of them. I still have the very first one that I ever wrote for my gym. And it's a disaster.
No, I mean the other way. Like you turn a phrase really well and you go, I wrote that?
Well, I mean, if you listen to your own show,
I do.
Then yeah, don't you say shit all the time that you're like, whoa, that was good?
Well, I listen. That's my editing process, right? I do the little spot check, then I go for a run, usually that night, and I'll go back. And even though I'm obviously listening, I don't truly get the experience until I hear it again. Yeah. And I've laughed at things the second time, which is kind of funny, right? Like that's always pleasant.
Yeah. Like, no, if you're laughing with yourself, that's great because other people are definitely laughing.
No, for sure. But I'm really listening. I'm taking all this in, but I do want to add one thing about this like winging it piece that I'm really like to hold on to.
Yeah.
So do you know who this guy Jesse Thorne is?
No.
All right. So Jesse Thorne is like,
what's like the context? Like it might ring a bell.
So he has a show called Bullseye. He interviews a lot of people, and he basically is like this generation's Ira Glass. He's like younger. You can look him up later. Don't look now.
Cool. Yeah.
He put a show together called The Turnaround, where he interviewed a bunch of people that give good interviews, right? And he had Ira Glass on, right? And obviously you know who Ira Glass is, right?
Yeah.
And Ira's like. And he was asking him, like, so do you come in, like, with questions ahead of time? He's like, I have thousands of questions. I will spend a week in a town for one soundbite, right? And then he talked to, what's her name? The chick from NPR that does all the great interviews with celebrities and stuff.
Yeah.
Can't think of her name.
I don't know.
Anyway, she's like, I have an A route. And then if that doesn't go where it's going, I have a whole B route of questions. And then a C, right? It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
And then he also talked to Mark Maron and Larry King, who were like, yeah, I don't look up anything about these people. I want to learn as the audience learns. And so that's the mode that I take. And it showed me like there is no right way to greatness, right? Nobody's right or wrong in that scenario. And so like that's kind of where I think is like, oh, well, my style is just sort of like making it up as I go, and that tends to work.
Making it up as you go isn't the problem. It's the quality of the way you think to like, I could have 1,000 questions prepared, but writing and getting more comfortable with putting language together in a really good way
just makes me ask better questions.
Makes you ask better, tighter, cleaner. Everything is just, it's like, you could just paint a picture. But if you painted 1,000 pictures, you'd have a much better roadmap of how you create a great picture.
Got it. Okay, that really works for me. I like that analogy.
Like you have to practice the skill all the time. And I find language to be like, it's really, really important And I say things now on shows. Like I did Spartan Up while I was there. And when you sit down with Joe Desena, like the guy's a savage, you better show up, right? Like you better show up. You can't bullshit that guy.
Right.
You better have it together. And that's really, really important to me. Like I practice writing so that when Joe Desena says, hey, let's go talk for 30 minutes, I don't know if I can play at Joe Desena's level. Like that really is the thing that drives me is I want to be able to play at the highest level that exists.
Right.
And the only way that I'm going to do that is every single day I have to be communicating through writing. I have to be reading. I have to be talking. I have to be able to walk in. And if you spend 3 minutes with me, 30 seconds with me, or 3 hours with me, I want you walking away and being like, whoa, that was legit. Like I really hammered that.
So I'm going to say the thing that you're not saying. You mentioned fantasy football, but the thing you're not saying that I'm going to say for myself and for much of our listening audience, but that
Sorry if you play fantasy football. I didn't mean to offend you.
No, totally fine. Totally fine. But here's the other example. It's not just fantasy football. It means not arguing in ridiculous arguments on Facebook and not spending endless hours looking at Instagram butts, right? Like those are two things we as humans like to do. I
missed that second one. Sorry. What was the second one?
Looking at Instagram butts.
Oh yeah, those are great.
So if we're doing that, me included, if I'm fucking let me troll this motherfucker, or I can't believe he said that about me, or scrolling Instagram butts, it's like, okay, if I put that time into reading, right, or writing, right? So so the iPhone has a new thing, right? Like your productivity, and it tells me like you've spent 30 minutes on Instagram, and if I've hit that by like 10 a.m., that's super scary, right?
Yeah,
because that's a lot of chunks of time.
Yeah, I'll even go the other way, though, just for sake of awesome conversation and say that I don't care if you scroll around and look at Instagram butts all the time. And I don't care if you're a troll and you're constantly on Instagram. If you make money on Instagram and you want to be a great troll and you're interested in being the best troll in the world, you should constantly be trolling people. You should 100%. If you're Brett Contreras and you've made your entire life out of training people to have better glutes, you better be spending a lot of time looking at ass on Instagram. So like it's the thing is, and the part two of this is your attention matters, right? You want to be a better conversationalist? You should read, write, and talk. And the way you feel about how you're getting better at that is the next piece. Like your intention behind what you're doing and what you're paying attention to should be empowering. It should make you feel better. It should provide fulfillment to your life, right? So when I read, I don't have to be sitting there like, sentence structure is great here. Or like when I write, like, oh, this is the greatest blog ever. No, it's daily practice. And when I practice, it's hard because I try to make it better. And I feel good about the work. So my intention when I'm going into it is like, I want to get better at this. I constantly need to be honing this skill. So when I am on Instagram, I don't follow people that suck. I follow people that are trying to write well and trying to use that platform to advance their career. And when I see what they're doing, it makes me okay with what I'm putting out. Like I try to be real on Instagram. And you know what's the most scary part about Instagram is like the people that are, I'm more worried about, not worried, but the thing that my biggest hang up with Instagram is I don't want my friends to know that I am trying to be good at Instagram. Like I'm consciously now, I've gotten to the point where it's like, I'm okay turning the camera on myself, just being like, look, here's the show today. This is why you need to watch it. I'm super stoked on it. I really, really enjoyed it, blah, blah, blah. Here's the other 6 shows that are coming up this week. Do the little swipe up thing. Like I'm okay with that now. And I wasn't for a long time. And I also used to be the guy that like didn't want to write the caption because then you knew I was trying. But now it's like, look, I run a fucking network that has really good content. And yesterday I just walked through a week of what it's like being like producing the amount of content that we put out. I've got 5 podcasts coming out this week, 3 full-length YouTube videos, not to mention daily emails, coaching going out every day and the 12 programs that we run, like on the back end of all of this. There's a lot of shit that people need to know about. I think all of it can really benefit their lives. And what's the best way to do that? I can't email you everything that goes on in my brain. So now I use Instagram to kind of like just let people know what I'm up to. And it took me a long time to get there. But now my intention when I'm getting onto Instagram is to feel really good about the work that I'm putting out and to write quality information. If people like it, that's awesome. And yes, I want people to like it. But Instagram doesn't have to be hell. There's a duality to like everything we do, that it can be the greatest thing ever. And it can also ruin your entire life. You just have to like go into it with a better intention. And then once you have that thing, then you can start acting on it, right? Like if you hate reading and you read and you don't feel smarter, it's not going to manifest into something that matters. Wait, if you're writing and the whole time you're writing, you're not trying to get better at it, and it makes you feel like shit and you feel stupid and you don't know, you're not trying to write better sentences or like a tighter product, like you're not going to feel good about it. So it's going to manifest into shitty blogs and emails and everything, right? Like the way you feel about your actions is very, very important. And I think about that stuff all the time because then I can start to put things into action. And what you really end up doing when you start putting it into action is breaking up with, I just wing it. Like maybe that's not who you are anymore. Maybe you like a tighter show. Maybe you break up with the show that you used to have to move into the next stage of where you want to go. Maybe monetizing what you're doing is where you want to be going. And monetizing that means you want to be making $10, $12, $15, $20,000 a month, right? Well, how do you get there? Not by doing the thing you've been doing for the last 6 years when you are winging it and hoping it works. And like you're one of 10 people that speak to an audience where I don't even know how many people just showed up at Tahoe, and there's an international audience already. It doesn't seem that hard that you could create a program or some sort of email list or some sort of something that creates $20,000 in revenue. It doesn't seem that hard. There's only 10 other people doing it, and you're the most consistent and you've got the most trust. So why is this such a problem? Well, the problem is you have to break up with the wing it. I just kind of do this. I don't worry about it, right? Like that's no longer your show. Now it's tighter. Now it's like, I don't know what it is, but it's whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, dude, I'm going to probably need a nap after this.
That's fine. We could go. I got like 4 more hours. Let's go.
I know what I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
I know that no one big name or even several big name moves the needle, quote unquote, but I am curious how you approach that, how you approach a quote unquote name that you know is at least is impressive on the podcast resume or you think might move the needle a little bit. Like, do you spend any time on that at all?
No, nah.
Because I was asking you about Bill Simmons and that kind of made me think about it.
So, no, that stuff doesn't, like from a marketing side of that show specifically, but for me preparing, not really. Like I've spent, so I was training partners with John Cena for 4 years. So I hang out with people like that are, I just hang out with that guy and lift weights. My name's on his garage door at his gym in Tampa that he owns. I've seen that dude work. He's impressive. He's like probably one of the biggest role models in my life. And I get to hang out with that guy and lift weights with him. And he's probably one of the most important people in my life. Purely for the fact that like, I think it's important to find out how good you are at things. And I found out that I was good enough to lift weights for 4 years with John Cena, and I'm pretty cool with that. So it's hard for me to be like really super like over prepared for things because I have a confidence about.
But I mean,
people that.
I meant going out and getting those names through DM or messaging or email. That's what I was talking about.
Oh yeah, I don't think you're getting those interviews through direct message. Like yesterday, I sent Nikki Bella a message hoping she'd come on. But I have her cell phone number and I send her like a video message.
But you also
you're not going to get Bill Simmons through direct message on
No,
Instagram.
I'm not, but I'm saying just whatever. I'm saying what some people, by the way, some people it does work. So this guy, Jesse Itzler, do you know who he is? We talked about him last night, I think. Billionaire, or at least hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
Straight DM on Facebook. I'm in Atlanta, you're in Atlanta, would you come on my show? He said yes. Now, 2 years ago, his Q rating was a little lower. I don't think I could do that today.
Yeah.
Because he's had a lot going on. But I'm saying, like, it worked. And a lot of times.
Totally.
But you know John. Why wouldn't you say, John, could you have Nikki message me? I'd like to have her on the show.
They're not together anymore.
Oh, I forgot about that whole thing. Now, but let's back up. So backing up, I'm asking you. You're not hearing the question I'm asking you.
Okay.
Sir. I'm asking you in terms of growing an audience. Yeah. Even though I know from experience that no one guest moves the needle, right?
Yeah.
Because you could have the biggest name in the world, and it doesn't mean they're going to tweet it to their audience or whatever. I'm just asking you. You want to talk to good people. You want to talk to stuff you want to learn about. How much time do you spend on getting names for your show? Do you spend a lot of time like, man, it'd be great to talk to fucking Arnold. Man, it would be great to talk to, you know what I mean? Like, do you spend any time on that stuff?
No, not really at all. They're in my brain, but I feel like by the time I'm ready to interview Arnold, or Arnold is interested in being on my show, I will have interviewed a whole lot of people along the way that were like really, really, really high performers. And that interview will just organically appear in my life because I've become so good at what I do.
You know, I'm not going to talk to you anymore if you're going to have these great spiritual answers for everything. You're just really pissing me off.
Yeah, like I don't spend any time. I focus purely every single day on getting better. And every time I focus on getting better, then better things will happen to me, more doors will open, and that's literally like how I live my life.
I mean, I've never been that guy either that's like trying to totally get every name in the world, but when you say that, I know that's the fucking answer. I mean, here's the thing. The thing that, you know, and we're cool saying this, but like my wife and I are both sober a really long time, right? And that's that's one of the reasons I think she doesn't try to take any kind of crazy drugs, even though they're not necessarily affecting your sobriety if you take performance enhancers. But we're super sensitive about what goes into our bodies. But I know that's the answer to everything, right? Yeah. Like I know it starts and ends with me. I know that if I hate some fucking guy, it's because there's something in him about me that I don't like. I know all that stuff, right? But what you're saying, like, dude, you're waking me up to this. Like I feel like, you know, when the student is ready type of thing, like that is the answer. Just keep focusing on what you do and getting better at that, and everything else opens the door. Like, right? Like that's always the answer.
I just tried to be super, super like good at conversations. I think that like I've only been doing that. So the reason John Cena showed up to my gym and I was able to train with him was because I had been doing it for 17 years before he showed up. And then I had 1.5 hours to create an environment in which somebody that is the best in the world felt comfortable, saw a place that he wanted to be, and then sign up. I had 1.5 hours, which is the culmination of 17 years of me lifting weights, feeling like I'm very good at this thing, like feeling that momentum of getting better at it, feeling just like I'm at home and I've created this gym to be exactly what I want it to be. And I'm super dialed in on the music, the culture, the vibe, the feel. I'm good enough at lifting weights that it looks pretty when I do it. I know how to train with people because I've been training with people my whole life. So it's not just John Cena is a member at my gym. It's I better be training with him every time he's here because I feel like I'm capable of making his training sessions better. And I've only been the host of Barbell Shrugged for 6 months, a year. My first show was in January at the beginning of the year. And I'm like 100 shows deep now. So 2 a week.
Were you the host of anything before that?
No. I jumped right into the biggest audience that exists.
That's pretty phenomenal because, like I said, I'm saying you're the one that I was drawn to. Nothing against those other guys, but I'm saying that listening to that show, when I'm out for a run, and that's when I listen, right?
Yeah.
When I'm out for a run and you say, let's fucking put them all in a room, give everybody the most drugs, I'm laughing and enjoying myself, right?
Yeah. Well,
Speaking of which, by the way, quick side note, I hate to do this, but I have to say this now before I forget. How Stacy described lifting weights is how running can be for me, right? All alone, me in the world. Even if I'm listening to a podcast, it doesn't mean I don't have to have anything in my ears.
Totally.
But a lot of times lately, I will pick the fucking phone up and look at something. And I would never dream of that before. I would put it on airplane and fucking go and listen to something. So I basically have ruined the one place of my peace, and I got to cut that shit out. Like, I think I'm going to have to run without the phone even just to, like, break it up.
It's better to do it without, I shouldn't say better. You should do it both.
Well, it's one thing to just enjoy a podcast because that's also like that's my happy place, right? If I'm running and I'm listening to something that I like or listening to my own show or whatever, it's pleasant for me. You say, what do you like doing? That's what I like doing. But if I stop for a water break and I go, well, I may as well just check Facebook messages. That's fucking stupid. I got to stop doing that.
Yeah.
So dumb.
Yeah. That's. I mean, the other thing is you can just like you're already viewing your actions as a separate piece of you, which is like kind of the idea of the whole thing. And then realizing what's actually happening. Like we all know that you're getting like a hit of dopamine. You're basically smoking crack. Like as soon as you stop your run to go look at your phone, like you need that fix. Yeah. Like, especially if you're running on the street, that isn't like, I don't think that is necessarily like how the running thing is supposed to be done. I think trail running is the thing that is supposed to be done. Like that trail running is a much more soulful way to go about it. Not only is it better on your body, but there's a soulful piece to trail running. If you can get there and do that. And
dude, when I get to the first sort of like in Mudder, they call it Mud Mile. In Spartan, they call it, I forgot what they call it, but basically over a hill into some water, over a hill into some water, mud mounds, whatever they call it.
Yeah.
When I hit that obstacle, like my sense memory of this is what I love about obstacle racing, like floods me, right? Even though it's kind of miserable, right? Especially if it's cold out, right? That's where it's at. I'm in the earth. I'm like a fucking kid. I'm not in my fucking phone. I'm not in front of my laptop. I'm in the fucking mud. And yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You should do more obstacle races, dude.
I'm trying to work with Spartan to do business things and be a part of it.
Well, listen, we can talk offline because, once upon a time, you could just make a suggestion to Joe and he would say yes. And now you make a suggestion to Joe and he says yes. But then the corporate machine gets a hold of it and it gets lost in oblivion.
Yeah.
So if you want some help there, I'm happy to help. But whether you work with them or not, name a race you want to do and I'll get you into it. Like I'll just make it happen.
Yeah, wherever the ones that are like near SoCal. So the reason, so I would just want to do them wherever they're at in SoCal. That's awesome. I really enjoyed being in Tahoe and doing not just doing the race, but being a part of all of it. So, I mean, you go to these things and like you're like a little mini celebrity, right? Like they take care of you, and Spartan's really, really cool at taking care of their people. I had a blast. You did the like Podfest thing, right?
Well, here's the irony. I didn't know Podfest existed, right?
Yeah.
Until I saw like a flyer for it or something. And I know Joe and I know Marion for 6 years. And I'm like, hey, you guys are doing a Podfest. There's a guy that's been doing a obstacle race podcast for 6 years right? How am I not involved? Yeah. And basically the short answer was people in the office were handling it and they didn't call me. But now I'm actually going to help Marion with the next one. Like, we're going to work together and help make it happen. But when you guys were there, I started messaging everybody through DM. I was like, hey, you're in Tahoe. Can we talk? Like, I was like, holy shit, I'm in the presence of all these cool podcasters. And then I saw you guys in the tent there, in the Fit Aid tent. But I should have just fucking walked up and introduced myself. But I just was like, whatever. And I'm also getting my own interviews, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, you were saying. I'll be there next year for sure.
Yeah, so that's like the really fun part. I don't know if I would just show up and go to a race.
But why
I think
wouldn't you?
that piece of me is not that's not why I do fitness anymore.
But let's say this, okay? I don't mean competing. I mean
Yeah.
showing up and running because it's fun, because you get to use your body in these ways.
Yeah.
And you're going to sweat for a couple hours and maybe laugh when your friend falls off the monkey bars, and maybe be happy with yourself when you don't, or the things that just come with it, right? So like most of us that have been doing it a long time, if we want to race, we'll race in the morning, right, with all the shirtless dudes. And then in the afternoon, you do it with your bros, or you do a fun lap, or, we call it, my friends call it the media lap, right? Because I fucking go do whatever I want, right? So if they're going to run in the morning, I'm like, great, we'll do a lap at 1 in the afternoon. And it's just fun. You know what I mean? So
I got all of that stuff from CrossFit.
Okay.
I mean, it's not that I actually had a blast doing the run, but I did it by myself, and I was supposed to be with the team, and then I kind of lost them and didn't
Care.
wait. I just wanted to know,
did you do the Saturday Beast or the Sunday CEO thing?
Saturday Beast.
Okay, so you did the real deal. You got in that fucking cold water at the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
And
so
how did that feel?
So this is the thing. I was training for doing it without knowing I was training for it. Like, I've been in more. So I went up and trained with Laird and Gabby in Malibu.
Oh, wait a minute. First name basis. Laird and Gabby. John Cena, you at least said his whole name. Laird and Gabby.
John.
Boom! Drop the hammer.
John is a very broad one. Laird and Gabby, people know that one.
Right. Well, I'll, in case they don't, we're talking about Laird Hamilton, one of the greatest surfers ever, and Gabby Reese, one of the best female volleyball players ever. Please continue.
Yeah. They do a lot of cold water immersion and cold ice tank or ice baths, heat stuff. And then I've been to Andy Galpin's house a couple times. He's got a freezer in his backyard. And I had been in more ice baths in the past 4 months than I've ever been in my entire life leading up to it. And then by the time I got in there, I was like, oh, I know how to breathe in this stuff. And I actually recognizably passed more people in the pond than anywhere else on the course. And it was because people were freaking out. They jump in. It's like, they don't know what to do. And it's like, yo, just chill out. It's not that cold. You're not going to die.
Quick side note before I ask you about that. That is my big point of pride in a race like that, a longer race with mountains, because I pass the jackest guys on the hill. They are on their butts or on their knees talking about cramps. And I am 20 years older. And not buff, and I'm like, see ya, because I know how to, because endurance is my thing, so that's always my point of pride, because they've done nothing but their gym for the last whatever. But let's talk about, because this is the kind of stuff I thought we might end up talking about. By the way, we're an hour and 42 in. This is the longest interview I've ever had, including what we did yesterday. It might have to be a two-parter. I don't know. But let's talk about, you talk about how deep you want to go down the well, right? And we talk about Ferris and Greenfield and all these things. So what I see a lot these days on Instagram are what I like to call the 3 C's, which are cryo, cupping, and keto, right? Even though keto's with a K, that's what makes it funny, right? And, people are cupping the hell out of themselves and crying on the hell out of themselves and look, and I'm like, okay, is your performance that much better? So you clearly think there's value in the freezing thing, right?
I think there's value in anything that changes that forces you to connect with calming yourself down. There's a lot of benefits to getting really cold. I live in Southern California. At its coldest, it's 65 degrees. You might wake up and it might be 58 in the morning.
It's Ugg boot weather when it gets to 60. Yeah. All the chicks in the coffee shop have Ugg boots and a scarf on.
Yeah, so we spend our whole lives seeking comfort. And I have a heater and air conditioner in my house in Southern California. The temperature ranges from maybe 60 degrees to maybe 80 degrees. If you lived in Wisconsin, you'd be like, dude, it's 60 in your house. Why do you have a heater on? I'm frozen. But people pay a lot of money. There's no difference between I do ice baths all the time and I run Spartan races all the time. People are looking for something to grab a hold of and experience something that gets them out of their cage, and their daily lives suck. They've created a life that is super boring. They have no adversity except shit that's made up. They have a steady paycheck. They live in this house that is completely like safe. There's no animals that are going to eat you. There's really no hardships that anybody faces in life except the things that we mentally put on ourselves, right? Like if you lived outdoors in a cave and you were worried about the saber-toothed tiger coming to eat your family, you've got real shit that you can't help because you're getting hunted. No one's getting hunted anymore. So what do we make up? Well, we have to make up jobs to create an economy. And now we've got bills that we bring on to ourselves, and we have to keep climbing the ladder, and we have to get to the next thing because it's all. So like, what brings people to reality? Throw them in a 38-degree bath and see how they do. And they freak out. You throw them into a suffer chamber where they're climbing mountains, and like people do weird stuff because they have to go. It helps them feel real. So like, yes, there is like a thing to the ice baths. You will definitely help turn white fat into brown fat, and it will thermogenically start to increase your metabolism. But what is it really doing? It's making you connect and be in a parasympathetic state under extreme conditions, which we never face anymore, right? And our bodies are designed to suffer. Like it's really important for our bodies to suffer. And I know that because I get really cold in Southern California. It gets cold to me. Like our bodies have to feel cold when it's wintertime. If I brought somebody from Wisconsin to Southern California the first winter they would be here, they'd be like, it's never cold. We could go to the beach. I used to have clients in Alaska. And do you know what temperature they start sunbathing at? Mind you, they don't see the sun for months, right? And it's cold all the time. What temperature do they start putting on trunks and start sunbathing?
50? I don't know.
15 degrees. They go outside with basically no clothes on when it's 15 degrees outside because your body just adapts. It needs cold. It needs hot. It needs these things for the systems to work. So I'm in Southern California where maybe 60 degrees. I've got a heater right above me in case I get really cold. But what is real, like what's actually happening is like our bodies need to be uncomfortable and force adaptation. And if you do it through Spartan, awesome. If you do it through CrossFit, awesome. If you love ice baths, awesome. If you're really good at CrossFit, you should probably go do Spartan. If you're really good at Spartan and CrossFit, maybe you should go find an ice bath. Maybe you should also like go take dance lessons or like do things that you don't know, like that force adaptation in your body. And they all have a miraculous benefit. Getting an ice probably has a little bit more benefit than a lot of other things because our bodies are designed to withstand cold. And we evolved in really cold climates. The only climate that isn't cold is the one I'm in. And I still get freezing ass cold in SoCal.
Well, and specifically San Diego, because you could be in the Valley, which is still SoCal, but it's fucking hot there. The Valley, like Hollywood, like the Valley above.
Yeah. I mean, that's a little bit inland, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's not cold. Like you go to NorCal before it gets cold.
No, I know, but I was pointing out about the hot thing. Like you don't get hot. Yeah. You don't get hot in San Diego, but in LA and the Valley, it gets.
It gets hot here. You just got to go a little bit inland. Like the coastal people don't really like. It's maybe 80 degrees, but it's like 110 if you go in just a half an hour. It's real desert. No one's supposed to live here. It's a desert. Sweet. When do you post? What day?
Well, it's funny you should ask because, like whenever. I said, I bounce around. But no, typically I like to go early in the week. I like to go Monday, Tuesday.
Nice.
But then occasionally it'll be later in the week if some shit happens. But again,
yeah, I have found that there isn't like a real like thing to getting it right. Like I've had shows that air on Saturday that sit like in the top 5 for like 4 days. And then some days, like Monday, it really depends upon the content, the title. That's kind of where I spend a lot of time now on like titles, and I hate being clickbaity, but man, it matters.
yeah, and I think it's okay once in a while. I feel like the audience will trust you enough. So let's go to yours. Let me look at Barbell Shrugged and let me see. Because like,
Oh yes, I would love to see a screenshot of that.
well, you know what your own fucking thing
But I
is,
don't
right?
have those numbers. That's under like Bledsoe's thing. I didn't even know that.
No, but I can't look. But I can't look up a thing. So first of all, it's on the computer. It sucks because you can't even see the names of the things.
Yeah, all I have is like.
Is CrossFit a great way to get fit? Joint friendly,
that's my
strength
show
training,
today.
and being a certified nice person. Super long title.
Yeah.
Finding purpose in prison. Great title. How to stop outsourcing your health to doctors. Understanding gut pack. Yeah, dude. See, I don't do an informative show though, so I could never have these fucking killer titles.
Yeah, you totally could.
Really?
Why couldn't you? We talked about, I mean, you want to tell your audience exactly what they're going to listen to. So like the like esoteric, like I think that finding purpose in prison is a way worse title than how to stop outsourcing your health to doctors. Like if you spend time in a doctor's office or you're trying to be a healthier person, that's a much more direct title to like my audience is a CrossFit audience, and today's show is CrossFit a great way to get fit? Well, people are looking to get more fit, and I have Ben Bruno on who doesn't believe that CrossFit's the right thing to do at all. So there's an entire show on questioning what is actual fitness and what's the best way to go about it. Like this one could be like how to, I don't really know, whatever the fuck we talked about, but like, yeah, I think that those like the ones, this is the thing. You have been doing this so long that you forget what 90% of the population actually likes. Like the show that I posted on Saturday, the title is How to Gain 10 Pounds of Lean Body Mass.
Right. That's a show, right? I'm not that guy. I'm not doing that show. I'm not asking how to 10x your fucking Instagram followers or how to lose 10 pounds.
Why can't the show, like, what is your audience going to learn by listening to me jabber for 3.5 hours?
How to fucking say goodbye to their old shit.
Okay. So how to break up with your old self and find and create your own path. Something along those lines. Like those people resonate with and it helps iTunes recognize what your show's about. Like they have the formula, like they've got robots that read your show. So it ranks higher and it's more searchable and much more, everything is SEO, right? The robot has to read what you're doing. And if the robot's like a kindergartner, and most people are kindergartners too.
Can I use all this part? This is really good. Can we keep this going, by the way? Is this all?
Sure.
Yeah.
Like people need to know, they like being fed, right? Like they want to know exactly what they're going to get. And it's your job to deliver, but in your own message and in your own way. And that's why people listen to your show. They can go get how to gain 10 pounds of lean body mass anywhere, but they really like the way that I talk about it and the way that Doug talks about it. So that's why they tune in. Like they want to know how to get faster OCR times. Well, how do you do that? Well, whatever you're doing right now that's hindering you from being a better athlete, you should break up with that person.
Okay. Right. And we can say I'm not the guy that wings it anymore, but I don't want to do that every week. Like, yeah, I kind of sometimes want to learn about that stuff, but I don't want to be, here's, Ben Greenfield's, guy, here's tips and tricks and nutrition hacks. It's not the show I want to do.
Then you don't have to.
Okay. Well, then I can't do shows about being a faster OCR athlete because there are other shows to do that. Why do people listen to me? They like what I bring out in people, right?
Yeah.
I have these two athletes on Okay.
I don't think that your title has to be what your show is. Like, I think that your title should tell people what they're going to learn.
So I'll give you a quick example, and maybe we can extrapolate out from there. Okay, it's very specific, but I think I can learn something from you. So do you know who Ryan Atkins is?
Maybe, I don't know.
One of the best obstacle racers in the world.
Okay.
Okay.
Those people are freaks, by the way.
Right. Ryan Woods is another guy. Okay.
Okay.
Ryan Atkins is pretty dry on his own. He's like kind of like, yeah, I tried hard. It was a good race. But I brought him on with this other guy, Ryan Woods, and this magic happened where it's hilarious. It's informative. People hear who they think are these top of the world athletes being just regular guys. And we joke a lot, and it's really funny, right?
Yeah.
It went so well, I brought him on again a month later, and I thought, well, this one isn't nearly as good as the first one because you can't recreate that.
Mm-hmm.
And all people talk about is, can you have those guys on again? A month later, I had them on again. So I might make it a monthly thing.
Yeah.
And I just call it the 2 Ryans, right? And when I get messages from people and iTunes reviews, oh my God, the 2 Ryans was phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
So I can't recreate that. That's just a thing that worked. And I feel like that's all, the 6 years of winging it is like, that's what it is. It's like constant experiment.
Cool. This is the thing that anytime I work with any of my clients on anything in their business, I have to it's like everything works. There's no reason that model can't work. And it's 100% you. It's just, you have to figure out where it's going. So if the constant experiments are the things, then be a constantly experimental show. If you're trying to go somewhere else with it and make it different or grow it into something else that's not an experimental show and have a much clearer message, those magical moments happen no matter what, just because you're being creative. That's not creativity leads to those moments. But I think that titling your show doesn't mean how do you scroll and find podcasts you want to listen to?
Right. Like a good title or a name that I recognize right?
Yeah. So the people that are tuning
I had to choose out of your recent 3 or 4 months, right? I didn't go all the way back to 20 whatever. I was just like, oh yeah, Hunter's on that guy's show. I'd like to listen to, even though
what was that show titled, right? You were drawn to the name, but what was that show titled?
You can run a 5-minute mile and lift 400 pounds, which he talked about.
Who the fuck isn't interested in that?
Right. But he only talked about that for 2 seconds. Right.
It was a 2-hour-long interview.
So I have to
I don't know how to.
Right. So
how do I put all of it in there?
Right.
It's got to be catchy and it has to be relevant.
Right. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. Hunter's on a ton of podcasts, and I don't listen to those because I've talked to Hunter myself 100 times, right? Online and offline, right? So, but because I was starting to like you guys, and I knew I wanted to talk to you, I wanted to listen to some of your work, so I picked him because I thought it'd be fun to do. But what I'm getting out of this is I need to let go of that clickbaity title. I would have some sort of attitude about it. Oh, well, I can't do that. But you know what? Fuck it. I need to let go of that guy because you talked about that for a second and a half, and I'm sure you got more downloads because of it.
Yeah, the show crushed. It was really good. It was in the top. It was on iTunes for 2.5 weeks.
Really?
Yeah, it crushed. I actually texted him I want to say it was 17 days after it aired, and I was like, dude, that show is still moving and still being searched and still showing up.
Thank you so much for that chat, Anders Varner. I really appreciated it. As a dude, as a fellow podcaster, as a fellow businessman, and just a guy trying to help another guy. Thank you so, so much. I have already implemented, as I said, and will probably implement even more. Lots of great stuff continue to come. You got a new episode of these every Tuesday. We've got a new episode of Obstacle Discourse with Davis and Chase every Thursday. I've got some great episodes to bring you. My old partner, Christian Griffith, Tina Muir. Congratulations, Tina. She just crushed the old Disney half marathon. She had me on her show not that long ago. You guys really enjoyed that. We talked about the depression and the anxiety and the whatnot. She's going to be on this show very soon, along with a bunch of other good stuff. So as a reminder, thanks as always. If you are digging this, if you're digging on the Patreon, it makes the world to me if you help me out and throw a $1 or $2 in the jar every month. Go to patreon.com/Obstacle Racing Media. Enjoy your week. I have got to run.